Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for joining me on All Things Possible. How are you guys doing today? It is the night before the new moon, the day before the solar eclipse. I don't know about you, but I'm always reporting on the energy, and the energy is strong. I've been feeling so many reels of emotions, and I heard a lot of people telling me the same thing. A lot of people are going through emotional figuring out what to do and a lot of letting go. I think we're always in a stage of letting go, and there's different levels of the onions, the layers, I like to say. And so sending you all positive energy and blessings throughout this time shift, energy shift. So today I posted, I have my friend Terry coming on. I introduced myself to Terry about a few weeks ago. I seen that she was here in Florida. She's a life coach. She's a lot of things. She's a business owner. She does retreats. She does a lot of different things. And one of the things I love that I seen also was that she has been teaching in the Course of Miracles for, I think it was over 25 years, 20 years. I'll have her come on and share that with us. I'm going to work on that. I love watching. There she is. Okay. Tom Bayou. It's Tom. I always say Bill, but it's Tom Bayou. I post his videos in here all the time. I love his interviews, but what I love the most about his interviews is how he does research on his guests. I'm going to start doing that and introduce them. But I'm excited to bring her on and for her to share her journey with us, what she does. I believe she has a couple of things I asked her to share with us. So I'm going to bring her. We're going to do the famous drum roll. And it's connecting. And
hello.
Hello.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you too, Terry. Thank you for coming on, taking some time and coming on with me. Can you see good? Everything's good?
Yeah, I can see you. Everything looks good. How about on your end?
Good. Oh, I love your elephant.
I know. I've got all my books back there.
I see. Beautiful. Go ahead and
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself. I was just saying, I introduced myself to you a few weeks ago because I seen that you help women. I have a lot of people that come on that, are here as women going through changes ourselves. As we master something, we try to help other people through that situation or situations. And I love what you're doing, and I just wanted you to come on and share a little bit about your journey and what you do. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me here today. And it was such a pleasure meeting you. And it's great that we're both here in Florida too.
Yeah.
So my name is Terry Ludwig. I am a life coach. As you said earlier, I have been facilitating A Course in Miracles study groups for just about 25 years. I started reading it when I was pregnant with my son.
Okay.
And gosh, he's like 28 now. So yeah, I started reading it, and life wasn't great then. I had a daughter, and I was pregnant with my son, and I was in a marriage that it just wasn't great. And I thought I had married the man of my dreams. I thought that I was going to have this amazing happily ever after, and things just didn't turn out that way. And I was so confused. I didn't understand it because I was really, really, truly in love with my husband when we met. And I was still in love with him when I started reading Course in Miracles, but our relationship had grown apart, and I didn't understand it. And a friend of mine sent me the book, A Course in Miracles, and that was really the pivotal moment in my life. I had done a lot of soul searching before that. I didn't really associate with any particular religion, although I dabbled here and there, and I tried to learn about all the different religions, and I really wanted to be involved in some type of a spiritual community. But every time I would start, I'd hear something and I'd go, ooh, yeah, that doesn't sound right, you know? I mean, all of the truths were great, but it was all the little things that just never landed well.
Yeah.
And so when I started reading A Course in Miracles, it agreed with my heart. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is the truth.
Yeah.
And as I read it, it's a journey of undoing, really, of everything that you think is true, including this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And I've seen a few of your posts recently, the one you put out, I think maybe have just been today, about everything is energy, right?
Yeah.
And you think about, well, what does that mean exactly? You can think about that, but when you actually know it and you realize that even this is energy.
Yeah.
Appearing as a human being.
Yes.
And when you are able to harness the truth of who you are and what you are, you can manifest anything.
Yeah, miracles. I want to say really cool. I want to say that's so funny that you said with the book that someone gifted it to you and how it changed your life. So I found out about A Course in Miracles when I went to an I Can Do It conference in Fort Lauderdale, where I found out about Louise Hay and the whole Hay House family. And then I found out about Abraham Hicks, and then I found out about everybody else, right? So
right.
I was like on a frenzy when I went. So I was buying books, I ended up buying, I think, 3 Joe Dispenza's book by mistake and 2 Course in Miracles. So what I did was, instead of me returning them, I said I was going to gift them out. And I gifted the Course in Miracles to a friend, and he said it absolutely changed his life. As a matter of fact, he started teaching the Course in Miracles too. So
that's awesome.
I loved it too. Like you said, there are different books. One of the books that did what you described, what Course in Miracles did for you, for me, was like where it kind of just like took off walls for me that had around because I was brought up Hindu and Christian, and so I have that. And then I went learning more about all the other different religions that were out there too on my own. The book Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsh did that for me. And so then all these other things opened up, and then now, just the flood of all this information. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so new. And then I realized, oh no, this has always been around just as long as everything else.
And it's so funny you mentioned all of those authors and all those books. I have every single one of those books from those authors that you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And
I recommend them to everyone. Like the people who took time. There are a few people who said they've read it and it didn't resonate with them. Maybe about 3 out of the 20 or 80 people that have. But for the majority of people who have read it, it was always just like, there's something that, there's a truth that we know within ourselves that we don't voice, or we can't voice until we hear it. And there's like, it brings like a resonance, and then it becomes more clarifying why you believe in that, or that, you know what I mean? Right. So that's what I think a lot of these books and information and teachers are out here. I call us reminders. Like, we're reminding each other of something that we already internally and know, but have forgotten.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's also amazing when you realize that a lot of these authors and people who are spreading this great information are students of A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
Like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey. I mean, they're all Course in Miracles students, and they might not mention a lot of the information and where it comes from unless they're specifically talking about that.
Yeah.
But once you hear the truth, you can just pick it up and you hear it like from all these different areas.
Yeah, well, I had someone on the show a while ago too, and I think it's so true, to the sense of, once you find and like you tap into that truth, then what happens is, I feel like all of us start saying pretty much a lot of the same things, just in different dialect or different perspectives, so other people can understand it as well too. So it's so cool that we have so many different ways of saying it, so the people who can, because like, how many times my mom has told me something, we always talk about this, and my mom will tell me something when I was younger, and I would just, whatever. And then I go out into the world, and like, I remember coming home to her and was like, so at this school, we have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, make up our beds, we have to do, and she's like, and I was like, and it makes me feel more productive. And she's like, I've been telling you that for, so you have, I realized at that moment that sometimes you don't hear something from, you have resistance to certain ways things come in. And so we have all these different ways of teaching now too. So I know that's something that you're passionate about too, is helping other women. And how do you like kind of do that for other women that reach out to you?
So I was doing one-on-one coaching for years. For the last 20 years, I've been doing, private coaching and speaking at women's groups and women's business meetings, and whoever asked me to come and speak, I would speak, just because I wanted to share the information. But at the time, I was also running a really busy, successful 6-figure interior design firm that I had grown from nothing to this pretty big business. So it was taking a lot of my time. And I realized that I was building 2 castles, and I had to make a choice. One was intentional, the interior design firm. I like really worked hard at that, and I tried to build it into this business that would support me and my children, because for a long time I was a single mom, and you know, all the expenses and everything, and being able to work from home is amazing, right? And it was a women-owned business, which was awesome, right? So all those things. But then I realized I had more fun helping my clients with their mindset while I was designing their homes. And that was my real passion. And like the design of the home, like I wasn't interested in. I would give them to my senior designers. I'd be like, why don't you design this? I'm going to work with her on her meditation and on her yoga and on her mindset. And then I thought, well, this is crazy. You know, like I need to do what I am telling all of these other women to do, to follow their passion and, you know, do what they're meant to do. And that's when I decided to give my firm to my senior designer. And I left New York and came down to Florida and just went 100% into my coaching and retreats and yoga and, you know, all of that. So I'm so glad I did that, because I just feel the difference in my heart. It's like, I can breathe, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not what I think I'm, you know, I have to do.
That's what I feel like. Well, like what's happening right here now. I know it's in an unfolding stage still, but the very first video I did like this, and I was just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. This is part of, definitely, you know, I know it's going to continue unfolding, just like for you. Like I realized too how much in life, like one step that you feel this passion, this drive to, you start heading towards that, and it may unfold and blossom and flourish, but it always is leading you to another step, to another step, to another step. Really, do you listen to Abraham Hicks?
All the time.
So you know
all
how,
the time.
how
I love her.
Yeah, getting ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. I really understand so much of the teaching. The very first time I was just like, oh, this is not normal human beings talking. This is something else bigger, because it so was perfect. The, you know, resonance, the language, everything, the energy from it. But yes, I always feel like we're always getting ready to unfolding of what's coming next. And so I know one of the things that I was listening today that you just pointed on was to be in tune to what makes you feel passionate, what makes you feel that drive, what gives you excitement when you're doing it, and not feel like, oh my God, even when it's hard and it seems like, I say hard, but it seems like very taskful, or, you know, at times it feels challenging, it's still an excitement, a love behind it, that you love doing it. Like that's, for me, one of the ways to define what you're passionate about.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny too, because right before I moved to Florida, my husband and I went on the Abraham Hicks Alaskan cruise. Oh. And that was so nice. It was really, it was amazing. I've always wanted to go on one of the cruises. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Did he sit on the hot seat?
No, I didn't. But of course, as they always do, there was a lot of information that I felt was really like pertaining to me. Yeah. So. I have a friend that's coming on that's been on the hot seat twice. I know. That's amazing. He's coming on in a couple of weeks too. Yeah, I'm so excited for him to share about his whole experience and everything there. That's great. Oh, I love that. I love that that's happening.
So what do you do? What do you do now? Like, where do you do your work? What kind of work are you doing now? Who can reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm still doing one-on-one coaching, and you can reach me on my website if anybody's interested in finding me. It's terryjoludwig.com. But I've been creating my signature online program for the last probably year and a half. Of course, I had to learn about it because this was new to me. Yeah. It was, you know, it's not brick and mortar. It's not designing homes in restaurants and medical facilities, right? Yeah. This is like an online business. So I had to learn all about the technology end of it and the marketing end of it. So in order to be able to reach people, you know, it was important for me to put that work in and understand how that works. And it's great because I've created a 6-week program that can take people from basically not being happy with their life, feeling disempowered, to getting to the end of that program and feeling, wow, I'm happy with my life. I love what I'm doing. I'm inspired. And there's so many steps in between. And I've taken all of the coaching that I've done with my clients, and I've really broken it down and extrapolated it into the most important things in a chronological order to be able to understand, like, first, who are you? Mm-hmm. Right? That's first and foremost. People don't understand. I ask women all the time, what do you like to do? And you know what they say? I don't know. I don't know. And they don't know because they've spent their whole life pleasing everyone around them.
Yeah.
Because they think that if they can make everyone happy, then they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I thought.
Yeah. It is. It's such a cultural thing too. It can be such a cultural tradition, whatever way too, where we do. And I mean, I find that so very common too, where women do, from a young age already helping in the home, and then they go into having their own homes and taking care of their home, where they get to a point where they feel like it's been for everybody else, and now it's time for me. And now they're looked as, rebellious or whatever the form, they go into this wild out state. Yeah. But,
sure.
But so to start teaching our kids now too, I think is so important. That's one of the things I was always passionate about too, is to work with children, because I realized that that's where a lot of the implanting was taking place. So to rechange that, reprogram that, now I understand that, but back then when I had that passion just to work with children, because I realized that was the implanting stage, not realizing how much of that is what we're taking on into our life now, trying to uncover, to kind of like heal and live a better life, create things from a different space.
Right.
And it's, that's a whole big topic right there. But so I know that sounds like part of what you're doing too, is getting to the core of knowing who you are, like on a personal, spiritual, and emotional level, and then work from there with things that you understand how to work with. Do you when we're finished with our conversation too, I just want to add really quick to put your links on the bottom of the video so that people can find you on here as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add it onto YouTube too, so if anybody looks at it on YouTube, they can find you there too.
Yay. And I do have a YouTube channel too that I have all of my Course in Miracles.
Yes.
But I have a virtual Course in Miracles study group that I run right now every week. And I have people from all over the world. I love that we've gone virtual, because I would have never been able to meet these people.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, right? And you're meeting people that are all over the world, and
you wouldn't just
sharing
normally access to, that's what's happening with me. I'm realizing too, just like all over the world, and realizing I've been saying that we're teaming up as spiritual superheroes in whatever form your passion feels led to. Whatever your passion is, that is your superpower. And we're holding each other's hands, and that there are billions of groups all over the world. And this is a great way we get to intermix with all these groups, empower each other, so that we can continue this big energy of shift, the shifting energy.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love what you're doing. I love that you are bringing people and just sharing all this information. I think what you're doing is so important. And I'm so grateful for you to, be a leader in this dynamic of sharing and just, allowing people to tap into all of these resources that you are giving them.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really grateful. I always say this. When I follow my intuition, oh my goodness, I love knowing. And isn't that such a game, like to play with, like to learn what your intuition is? I remember hearing about it the first time, and it was like, play with it. Like if you hear a voice says go this way, but and just go and see what happens. And another time, don't go and see what happens. So you can kind of see, is that my intuition? Is that my, and really like get to know your intuition. And then when you really get to know your intuition and follow it, it's like, every single time, it does not fail me.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's listening to that voice. It's quieting the mind enough so you can hear that voice.
Yeah.
And you can feel where it's landing.
Yeah, that's where I like to start, to let people know before you even figure out anything, or try to just like That's a really great way to get in touch with your inner self first too, and then you'll hear everything you need to hear.
Right. That's so true. That's amazing.
So
That's
you said
awesome.
you have a Facebook group now too that does the Course in Miracles study. Yeah.
Yep. I've got a Facebook group that that I post my daily lessons in every day, 365 lessons. I actually did them live 2 years ago, went through
Yeah.
the whole book,
Oh
showed up every
wow.
single day, and didn't matter where I was. There were days I was in the car. There
Yeah.
was days I was at the airport. There were days I
Yeah.
was, visiting friends, but still I got on there and I did the lessons and shared them. And so now I'm kind of resharing them every year so people can still get them every day and do the
Yeah.
lessons every day.
Yeah, yeah. And plus every time already too, we've learned and experienced, I think, that you can read something, even as the Course of Miracles, the Bible, any other holy book, actually any other book that gives information, to me, you can read it in one space and where you're at, receive a message, and then you reread it again and receive a whole nother message. So I think it's good. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Les Brown earlier, and he was saying that too. It's like, you can't just train your mind a little bit and expect it to carry on. It's a continuously training of the mind. Like, it's no matter if you're up in master where you have a shorter time and you can create and you can do this, they still have to work on it, creating it. I remember when I
Right.
looked at Wayne Dyer at the I Can Do It conference. I talk about this a lot, but I remember looking at him on stage and just like the happiness I was feeling being in the audience. Like, I was gifted this gift, tickets by Anita Morjani, and I was meeting
Ah,
all these people, and I was just thinking,
wow.
yeah, it was so amazing. I was just like overflowing with happiness. I'm like, I wonder if they get sad. Like, I can't imagine them being in a surrounding like this and ever being sad. Like, I really wonder, do they get sad and depressed? And my friend was like, they're human. I'm pretty sure they do, but their
Mhm.
refraction time is probably shorter than ours. And she's like, because they practice in keeping that, I'm sure it is. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I'm going to do that. I'm going to practice. And I have, since that moment, dedicated to learning how to have more control over my mind, emotions, and, life.
Right. Yeah. And that's another point. That's a good point that you brought up, is the practice, because I say to people, if you wanted to be a bodybuilder, what would you have to do? You have
Right.
to go to the gym. You'd
Right.
have to change your diet. I mean, you'd have to follow a protocol to be a bodybuilder.
Yes.
So if you want to be happy, what do you have to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to
Follow
be
protocols
vigilant.
too. Yeah.
You have to watch over your thoughts. The 60,000 thoughts a day.
I know.
I know,
I
right?
think
So
mine might be up to like 80 right now.
it might be.
Maybe 100,000. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's possible, right? But
yeah, these days.
you just,
But yeah,
and
go ahead.
you think, well, it's, people would probably say, well, that's too much work. It's too much work. Well, is it too much work to have an amazing life that you love living and that you're happy living? I mean,
It probably is to people who are used to complaining and think that that might be more work. I've noticed something in my line of work too right now, like, well, and it's changing, but a lot of people are used to telling a certain story from, and at one point I was working with 65 and older. So I'm dealing with these people that's been telling these stories in their 20s and they're from teens, and they're telling the same story over and over so much that even if you try to give them a hope, but they can't, they're not in the space to receive it. And I've heard somebody, I think it was Neil Donald Walsh, said that sometimes human beings don't want to think for themselves. They're so lazy, they want other people to think for them. But when your life is shooken up, and that's usually what crosses the awakening stage, your life is shooken up and you're looking for, I need something bigger than me to help me right now.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah.
it steps in. Yeah.
And you're talking about, continuously learning. I mean, when I first got the Course in Miracles, and I first read the book, I thought, this is it. I've got this. I'm going to have the best life. I know it now. I have it all down. And then I put the book down and I walked away from it. And all of a sudden my life just went right in the toilet again. Right. So that's actually when I decided to become a facilitator, because I thought, I need to make myself accountable. And the only way to make myself accountable is if I have to show up for somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
that
why,
usually does work. Yeah,
yeah,
it does.
that's why I started facilitating 25 years ago. And it was just on my call on Monday. And at the end, you know, people were saying, "Oh, we're so grateful for you." I said, "No, no, no, you guys don't understand. Like, I am grateful for you
Yeah,
because without you, I wouldn't be here.
yeah,
Like, I wouldn't show up to do the work.
yeah.
I would say too busy with this or this or this or this, right? There's too many excuses. But when
This
you
is, yeah,
you have to like make yourself accountable to show up and do the work. And my life is amazing right now. I mean, I love my life. I love where I live. I love what I'm doing. It's just, it's amazing how it can change
yeah,
when you're conscious, right?
yeah,
When you're consciously creating and when you let go and let God, right? It's
yeah.
not just being conscious, because you don't want like the small self to create your world, because we all know man
Yes,
plans,
that's so
laughs, right?
important to understand that, and this, yeah, to get that.
Yeah.
Because I think that was something definitely that happened to me too when I started coming into the understanding that I am an extension of God. And I was like, so I have to protect myself? And I was like, how am I going to do that? And I can't think anything negative because and then of course, so my mind started going, what if this, what if that? And I'm like, no, you're going to make it happen. Like, and so I was learning the balance of this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So one day I lived on this land with a family. It was like about 10 acres and it was all just family, and it was me and my daughters there. I was a single mom, you know, in between their husband and wife and children, husband and wife, and I'm like, what if somebody comes? And I'm like, I kept telling myself, you're all the way back here in the boondocks. How is somebody gonna find you? But I would always go into this like worry stage. What if somebody finds you? So one night my neighbor, I heard some noise. I used to go outside in the nighttime, and I was like, I always felt like people are watching me anyway. So I'm like, somebody watching me. And anyways, I sit down, I finish looking, I go inside. The next morning my neighbor says there were some people in the back there and they stole a motor because they had a big shed. And I was like, how in all of Haines City they ended up in it was like, so I realized one thing was that, you know, the power. I felt like at that time I was being taught to not instantly all the time, and sometimes instantly things can manifest from your thoughts. I was talking about this today. Um, but to realize too, like what to bring that back into is that there is something higher to me, and I felt Source says you don't have to worry about how everything is going to work here. Your flesh is experiencing through, you know, I'm experiencing through your flesh. I am still all that is, and you have to
Yeah.
not worry about it. And I remember being fearful, and I felt like thousands of angels, like I felt and seen them surrounded the whole land, and that I was protected. And from that moment on, I decided, okay, there's something bigger than me. I have a part in creation and creating my life, but there's ultimately something bigger, you know, that takes place. Oh, this is such a good reminder for me right now.
It's so true. You know, when you were saying that, I started getting like truth bumps, you know, when you
Yeah.
get goosebumps.
Yes.
I call them truth
I
bumps
call them
because
angel bumps.
right. I always get them when I hear the truth or when I speak the truth. It's like, woo, you know,
Yes.
it just goes
Yes.
up and down.
Yes.
Speaking of angels, I'm reading a great book right now called Talking with Angels
Oh.
by Gita Melez, and it was channeled through her friend Hannah. And it's about a group of women who met right before the Holocaust started, and it's kind of documenting their experience with this angel that's coming through and helping them to understand the truth. And again, you know, like everything that this book is talking about is everything I've read in A Course in Miracles. And how
Yeah.
interesting is that? Because Course in Miracles came through around 1967, 65, around there. This book started in 1945.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I'm telling
And
you. Yeah. It's always.
the truth is the truth is the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been out for a long time too. I remember when I heard about Abraham, I was like, and then I heard, wait, there was Seth, and then before Seth, I was like, wait, this has always been. We're just thinking it's now that it's understanding, you know, but
Yeah.
we're just coming attuned to it, but it's always there, just as everything else too, for us to choose from.
I love that you've read all the same books that I have read. I love Seth Speaks. Oh,
yes,
love that.
Yeah.
You know, Nora Roberts used to live like half an hour from my home in
Oh,
New York. Yeah.
wow. Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so, I love to see that too, the synchronization of like when you're following, anything, whether you're following or not. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about too, like about being prepared. One of the things I've noticed too, like, and what we're talking about is that a lot of times these books would come into my life in two ways. It would come into my life through synchronicity or whatever, and the inspiration to read it, and I would read it. And then shortly after, I would go through something in my life where that knowledge serves me.
Yeah.
Or I was going through some shit, sorry. I was going through some shit and I go to the library purposely seek. And I remember I used to go into the library and say, Source, talk to me, and just go to different books and open up and read. And I would get a mess. I would know exactly what to do
Yeah.
or where to move from there. But those
Yeah.
are the two things I noticed too. So if you're looking for something to change your life too, I think that's a really good point to point right now, is to find a book that maybe resonated with you. If you want to know some more of the books that we've read, or just ask on Facebook. I've noticed people say, what's a good book to read? And there'll be hundreds of people telling them
Oh
of
my
different
gosh.
books. Yeah. So
So many. And I learned early on too in my spiritual exploration that books choose you. And all you have to do is go to the library, go to Barnes and Nobles, go wherever, and it'll just be like, boom,
yeah.
this is the book.
Yeah.
And you pick it up, you read a few pages, and you're like,
yeah.
I need the book.
There's been even like geography books or whatever I go and I'm drawn to, and I pick it up, and something about a indigenous something that hits me, and it's just like, oh wow. But I was reminded of that. I would go to the library and say, Source, talk to me, and just go through different books, and they would have the most beautiful. Then I started writing a book, because when I got the message I had to write it down and then write it.
That's so good. You know, and I think that's also an important thing to remember is we try to figure things out, right?
Yeah.
And we try to we get so stressed out with life and bills and jobs and kids and, whatever it is, family. And we forget that all we have to do is say, Source, I give this to you. Please help me figure this out, right? Yeah. You don't even have to deal with it. All you have to do is remember there's a connection inside of you that knows the right answer. It knows the right thing to say and do. That's the right resolution for everything. Because I think sometimes you're like, well, I want to say this, but then that person's going to get upset, or this person over here is not going to be happy. All you have to do is let go and let God, and then all of a sudden you're just going to say it, and it's going to be the right thing for everything.
Every single time I've heard that reminder, it has been true, and it has been powerful to change people's lives too. It's so funny that one little simple thing like that we'll forget so often, and that's why we have us as reminders to remind each other when we have forgotten in the moment, when we're reminding each other, and we get reminded right on time as well too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's a funny story. So my mother, we had a whole history. I learned so much from her, from other things in our life. She had not a great childhood, and because of that, I had not a great childhood. But fast forward to she's 60 years old. She's dying of cancer. And, we're at that place where we know it's going to happen, it's imminent within the next few months. So I said to her, look, if there's anything you can tell me from wherever you're going, a message you can send me, I promise I won't be afraid. I would just love to know, what would be the most profound thing you could share with me that would help me with this human experience. And so she agreed. She goes, yeah, if I can, I'll come back and I'll give you this message. And I was like, well, don't let it hinder you. If you're supposed to be doing something else, I don't want to stop you. But if it's easy, you can jump back and be like, hey, I found the thing, right? I would love that, So she was like, okay, good. Well, then, of course, a few months go by and she passes, and we've got the funeral in the house and all of the stuff that happens with, a loved one after they've transitioned. And I think about 3 months went by. I had completely forgotten that we'd had this conversation. And I always have vivid dreams at night, and I'm having one of my populated dreams with colors and people and music, all kinds of things. And then I hear her voice, and it's like I get sucked out of this dream back into my childhood home, and I go, oh my gosh, this is it. And I'd forgotten that I asked her this, right? And I'm in my bedroom with my back up against the bedroom door, and I can hear her voice downstairs calling me. So I open up my bedroom door and I go down the hall, and I go down the stairs. I skip every other one like I did when I was a kid, right? And there she is laying on the sofa with this beautiful nightgown on. And my mother never wore nightgowns. And she was usually passed out drunk on the sofa when I saw her, right? But she had, her hair was beautiful and flowing, and it was like there was a fan on her, right? Because everything was looking gorgeous. And she had this like jelly jar like on the coffee table in front of her. And of course, when she was alive, it was filled with vodka. But now it was water in my dream, and I knew it was water, but it was like all these symbols, right? And I'm thinking, oh, I'm dreaming, and she's got this really amazing message she's going to give me. What if I don't remember all of it? I can't down, like, how am I going to remember this?
Yeah.
Right. So I sit down on this chair, and I take my hands like this, and I look at her, and I go, okay, I'm ready. And she kind of laughs like a child asking a really silly question, right? She just laughs like, what a silly thing you're doing, right? And telepathically, because her lips didn't move, the words came into my head from hers, and she said, don't look outside of yourself for the answers. Everything you need to know is inside of you. And that was it. That was the whole message, verbatim. And then all of a sudden her face like just took up the whole screen of my dream. And then it started pixelating. I don't know if you remember, like when I was little and we had television, at the end of the night, the screen started pixelating.
Yeah.
And it started blinking on and off with different lights.
Yeah.
And it was like she was trying to give me another message. And a couple of weeks later, I was working with a group for our Southern Tier AIDS program, and we had brought Deepak Chopra in as a speaker. And he was talking about quantum physics. And so during this conversation, he said, you know, everything is all just blinking lights. Everything you see, all matter is blinking lights. And the frequency that it's blinking on and off is giving it the color, the shape, the mass, everything it has. So her other message to me was, this is just an illusion.
Yes. Oh my
right?
God. I love that so
Such a good
much.
dream. Right? But to your point, it took me 20 years after that.
Yeah.
Before I really started going inside.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a great message, but then I was still like, well, this could make me happy, and that could make me happy, and this could make me happy. And it's like, I just need to go here. That's it.
Yeah. And maybe she did talk to your future self so that when it clicked, it clicked.
Right.
You know, have you ever noticed that too? You'll hear something from, and it sounds good. It happens to me all the time. And then, but when it clicks, you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. And it can be, I was thinking about that the other day, that some things, like I was saying, manifest like this and something like that. And it took me 17 years because I used to always, so one of the things really quick, we can just, I know it's wrap up, I usually do, but when the conversation's good, we just keep going.
I know, having such a good time.
Yes, but one of the things too that I noticed with that too, with manifestation and creating stuff in our life, is that sometimes we say something, and I believe this is a good place to get coaching from, to get people who has had experience and know how to help you with your process in this, because that's what we're saying, everything has a process. Right. Is that we say something or we hear something, like I said, it resonates with us, right? Like that, and you get and you're like, okay, and you go on with it, and then something else happens in your life later on, and it really clicks for you. And then you really have like an aha moment, which is one of the reasons I love doing doing this. So I love aha moments because it's life-changing, it's paradigm shifting moments that happens for us.
Mhm.
And so I love helping people recognize that. But the process of changing that, of receiving the message, of understanding that, and then the different levels of getting it. My thought process just kind of jumped out of my head because I got so excited. But I know what I was trying to get at though is like getting a message now, and then later on, different experiences happen, and when you're like, oh, it all clicks together in such a deeper way than if it would have just came to you, from a book or from a movie or from wherever. There was different experiences. Like we're always being prepared for more. And I love to really quick, I know this doesn't have to do with that, but that message about what your mom said and what Deepak Chopra reminded you of. See how later on that message clicked, and then it clicked for you to really understand is that we are all here just temporary. For years, for 3 years, every morning as I woke up, I would hear, this is temporary. First thing, as my eyes open, this is not real. I'm like, okay, I know already. This is temporary. Every morning for 3 years, I heard that. And then 2 years after that, I went through a time in my life where I wanted to remember it was temporary. I wanted it to be, and I got to the point to where I was just like, I don't even care about this existence anymore. Just let it be done. And until like about a year ago, I was reminded that every day to remember not to get caught up in my story, because that's what prolonged my 2-year feeling of crappiness because I got so caught up in the moment of trying to, fix this story, to create this story a certain way, to make it better. I was trying so hard to make it better and forgot about that space. So I'm always reminded now too, like, every time I get like, oh no, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pay this? How am I going to, as a single mom, what if this, I go, wait, this is temporary. And you know what? It always works out. Whatever it is I'm usually worried about, it always works out.
So true. So true. Yeah. And like you said, you have to get to that place where you're just at the bottom, right? Where like, I'm done with this. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And when you say that, I don't want this anymore, what you're really saying is, I don't want this anymore. Everything out here, I don't want anymore. And then there's no place else to go but here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually
right?
what happens. And you can't fake that either. I've tried to be like, I don't, no, but inside of myself, I'm feeling, no, but I do it. And then, but when you get to that point where you're just like, oh, like you surrender, that let go, let God moment, where you're just like complete, utterly cellular level, everything just surrender.
Yeah.
Right. Oprah gives a really good, her story on her surrender when she was running around the track of the fat farm thing that she was talking about, that she was trying to get into because of her television, I think, or the TV show. And she just was running, I think in the rain and everything, was the whole dramatic scene. And then she started singing, I surrender, that church song, surrender all to Jesus. And she just broke down. And I remember hearing that crying too, because it's happened to me, and that particular, on lots of songs, but that song too, where you just totally surrender. And my God, the miracles that happens after but I realized that you cannot fake that surrendering moment. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if we can practice ourselves into that, instead of getting to that, like, detrimental feeling, like the bottomless pit. Like, can we practice ourselves before we get to that, so we don't have
Well, here's the thing. You said it when we first started talking. We are too lazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
And when you get to that bottom, there's no place else to go. Yeah. And then you know how bad that bottom is, and you don't want to go there again.
Yeah. True.
And that's the motivation to do the work, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way for us to wrap it up, because I want people to know too, if they are in a space like that and they just cannot figure out how to get a process going or need a process going, they can reach out to you. You have the links. If you leave your links to the group that you have, your YouTube channel, your all of that, please, because I think you gave it to me already, but I won't be able to post it, like I said, on the YouTube video too, and just post it out so people can reach out to you if they want to. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining me. I hope our friendship continue to grow.
Yes, I'm so excited to connect with you on some other things.
Here
I'm
too.
excited.
If you have anything else too that you want to plug, that you want to, please feel free to come back on the platform. I would love to have you back again.
Thank you so much. I love your energy. I love what you're doing, and I so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Blessings. Good night.
Good night.
As always, I love doing this. I really love doing this. I love you. I love these moments that I feel Source agreeing with me. Like, this is where you're supposed to be. Thank you guys again for joining me with another beautiful guest. I had Terry on my page, and just like anytime anybody else has been on here, there's something that calls out to me, and there's always a lesson, a reminder in what we're sharing. And our energy, I know, is growing bigger in our team, superheroes, spiritual superheroes. You guys have a blessed Wednesday. I will be back on Friday with a special guest also. I have my sister coming on. She is a business owner, a single mom, a wife, a whole lot of stuff too that we're going to be sharing. And you get to be one of my family members. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again. Terry, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. I will see you guys again soon.